Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David T. Allen. Thank you for joining me this morning. We are here to talk about Lady Jaye Vintage Package number 2 in the Vintage Package series of G.I. Joe Classified series. And so, like I've explained before, every 5 classified figures, we're going to showcase a vintage package. So we've already done the Baroness after the 40th, and now we're doing Lady Jaye after 45, and so on and so forth. So 50, 55, 60, and 65. We will do another vintage package character. Hopefully, based off of that cadence, we should be able to keep up with the vintage package characters on a regular basis. So when we get into stuff like the 60th anniversary, the legacy figures, and other specialty items, we will try to seed them in where I feel they're appropriate so we can get them through this series as well, because we want to cover every classified figure. And like we've said in the past, we're opening all these up for the very first time from scratch. There was a bit of a situation with the early versions of the vintage package. We may have covered it in the Baroness one, where they were shipped from Walmart because they were exclusive to Walmart, but Walmart did a really bad job of shipping these. They put them in the little shipper envelopes, and they would bend them, they would twist them. A lot of mine came damaged, as you will see as I go forward with some of these videos. I picked out the ones that were the worst ones to open. Obviously, I want to open up the bad ones and not the good ones. So you'll see the packages, and you'll see this package has a really big bend there, and there's some creases on the back of it, and stuff like that. So this was not a very good time for the G.I. Joe Classified team because they were releasing substandard product to the fans. The fans that are collectors, this is a collector product base and product line, and we did not want to get damaged stuff. We want mint cards and mint figures and so on and so forth. So that was a bit of an issue at that point. Remember, we're covering this stuff 5 years hence, so that was 4 or 5 years ago that happened. Now we're into the mid 40s, and we're covering the vintage package figures. So it's maybe 4 years now. As we get closer and closer to the current numbering, the years will start dwindling down. As I stated before, it is Lady Jaye. She was the number 2 figure in this line. And if you are very good at working the clearance aisles, you could probably still find some Lady Jays and Baronesses in Walmart clearance aisles, depending upon where you're going. I've seen some here and there still after all these years. So this one and the Baroness, they made it in abundance, quite a lot of them for the beginning of this line. So again, I don't know if we needed another Lady Jaye this soon after we got the previous Lady Jaye, but I brought the previous Lady Jaye out for comparison to this one. So when we open this one up, we will compare the two, like we did with the Baroness. We compared her with her coil cycle version. And so let's read a little bit about Lady Jaye. It says Allison R. Hart Burnett. Role: covert operations, primary specialty intelligence, secondary specialty personal clerk. Birthplace: Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. So she's from my home state. An accomplished actress and mime, as well as a studied linguist, she can easily pass as a native in many countries around the world. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure how familiar that similar that is with her vintage package or not. But we are going to open this one up, um, and we'll get into her. So, and then when I was showing off the Baroness one, I didn't want to spoil the cross sell of her, but there's the cross sell, and then there's the next two. And if you're familiar with those two cross sells, you probably figure out who the next two are. Or if you're following this line very good, you'll know who the next two vintage package figures are after Lady Jaye. So here we go. We are going to open her up. There you go. I'm going to pull her out of here. The cool thing about these vintage package ones, I really like that artwork on that one. And it does look like it's probably AI a little bit, but she's got a little bit of a smirk on there on her face. But it's not terrible. But we'll hold fire at the moment for these until we get more in hand, and then make a determination on the artwork. Oops, there goes that. I'll just lay that there. The ones that the thing I like about the classified vintage package is they come with these stands. And now I just got a bunch of stands for my figures. You can see over there. I pulled the Lady Jaye, and she has the stand on her feet already off there. So these ones come with stands. So at some point, I'm going to probably try to get more stands. I'll see if Hasbro Pulse has stands, because it seems like they're more sturdy and they're wider. All right, so here's Lady Jaye. Now, right off the bat, you can tell she's lighter than the previous Lady Jaye. Her secondary belt is a lighter brown. Her jumpsuit is a lighter color as well. Looks like the boots are even a little bit lighter. Maybe the boots are a little bit, they're more dull with a matte finish on them. Good morning, Crusty Old Crow. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Good morning, Super Dave. This was one of the first retro cards I got in 2023-24. I can still find it here at the reduced price. I am always surprised that we didn't get a new book for her until now, a new look for her until now. Yeah, I know. The fact that these two came out so close together was a little bit surprising, and now we're getting an Arctic version of her. So I think that's cool. We're getting the Arctic version, but that Arctic version is going to be the mold for probably a dozen female characters probably down the line. If Hasbro's smart about releasing Arctic figures, I would not be surprised if we didn't get like Scarlet, Dana from the October Guard, and other vintage figures, maybe a Baroness. So I think that mold is going to be reused. So really, it's the body that's the Arctic. The head is just the normal head, right? The Lady Jaye head. So like I was saying, the boots in the black are a little bit more matte finish, whereas the previous one is more has a sheen. So the black is a little bit duller on these than the previous one. And on the previous one, she comes with a blue ball cap with a logo, a Joe logo, and this one she's got a black. So maybe you could switch hats and switch heads with her. So that's an interesting thing, because I believe this head and hair comes off. Yeah, the hat and hair come off. So it's something that's possibly you could interchange and give her different things. Good morning, Barbie World. Thank you for joining us this morning. Um, this is probably the first retro card when I got it from Walmart that wasn't all bent up. The like Destro and Baroness was. Yeah, I covered that a little bit earlier. Yeah, so that was a problem with the Walmart ones. These cards were flimsy. Thanks to the fans and thanks to the outcry and thanks to what the other teams at Marvel were doing with Star Wars Black Series and Marvel Legends, they were coming out with those really thick, sturdy cards. And so our arguments and our uh, yelling about that did make an impact on this line. Eventually, we will get into those versions. But yeah, this was a problem, and they realized it was a problem. They tried to work with Walmart, and I think the later ones they shipped out better because I do remember getting my Crimson Guard and my Storm Shadow and Zartan and Snake Eyes is in better condition. So hopefully, the first wave or two waves, they learned their lesson and they were able to realized this was a collector line and they were going to send it out in a better packaging. That's just my 2 cents. I have no, well, actually, I do have a little bit inside baseball on this. I talked to the Hasbro rep that is the buyer for Walmart, Kurt Bacchus. He is the buyer for toys for Walmart through Hasbro, and he said they are aware of it and they did adjust and they didn't take everybody's complaints and uh, I guess issues with that to heart, and they did change that. So Kurt Bacchus, who works for Hasbro, he's their buyer for Walmart, and he told me that that was changed, and they were aware of it. So there you go. So a little inside baseball. So all of our other colors are a lot lighter. The green is much closer to the vintage version, and the brown is a lot lighter. And I love the face printing on these figures. They're doing a much better job with the face printing as we go forward with these. Um, so she's got a police badge. This police badge is a little bit more silver deco, whereas the other one was a little bit black and blue. This is silver, and there's a couple other little deco hits. She's got a tampo on that shoulder. Let's see if it's the same tampo that's on this shoulder. Yeah, that one's a blue one, and this is a black one. So there's a difference between those two tampos as well. Um, Now she has a lot more layering on this and shades of green on the first release, whereas this one it's all much more lime green, and you can see all the same material, but it's just covered more in the same paint. And she has the back harness on there that's a lighter brown with some silver deco. Um, she has on the hat a different logo. Let me see what this logo is. This might be a Night Force logo, actually. I'm not sure, but it's not the same logo as the other one. The other one has the stars and stripes, and this is a weird like logo that I'm not sure what that is. If it's the Night Force logo, but she's got a sheath on her secondary belt, and nothing, no other holsters on there. Obviously, she's going to have all the same articulation points. She's got the butterfly shoulders. Now, because she's a female, that's a new articulation point from the females. She's got the calf articulation. She's got the double pin elbows. She's got the wrist. She does not have the secondary wrist. She's got the ab crunch and waist articulations. She's got the new neck articulation. She's got the crotch articulation like all the other GI Joes. She does have the thigh articulation. She's got the double pin knees. She's got the ankle rocker. And she does have the secondary ankle articulation there. Let me check the first version. I'm curious if she has that or not. Yes, she does. So the other one has that as well. All right. So she has all the articulation points as mostly classified, except for the second wrist one. All right. Let's get some of her equipment off. Um, Start with her backpack, and like her previous backpack, it's green, but it's a different backpack. This is much more elongated and has a lot of equipment on it. This is much more like her vintage package, vintage figure backpack. So we're going to put that on there. There. So it is different. And this backpack seems to be staying on there, whereas a lot of the backpacks don't stay on very well. But that one is. Now they switched her camera as well, because on the first version, she had the GoPro. See, you can see that GoPro up there. This one is much more like the vintage package camera that she had with the vintage figure. So we'll put that around her arm like this. Kind of like that. And there's a little bit of deco on that with um, the black lens there. So we got that on there. Let's see what else she has. She has a knife, obviously, for that sheath. Get it out. There. So we'll put that in there. It's a silver and black knife. There. Put that in there. There. I think her camera is going to be a problem trying to keep this up. So I have to like maybe make her arm like turn like that. So it'll stay there like that. All right, and then she has looks like a flashlight of some sort. So I don't know if that's the same as, oh, it's a tip. It's a tip for her spear. So that's a tip for the spear, and then it's alternate tip for the spear, and then we have the regular spear. And the other Lady Jaye came with a spear, but it was black and it had silver deco, whereas this is all like a grayish color. And so let's see where this tip goes. I'm guessing it goes in the bottom here because the other side has a arrow on it. So I'm going to put that in there. Because it looks like there's like a little grappling type of a thing that's on that side. So when she throws it, she can grapple something. So I'm going to put that in her arm on this side. I'm going to switch up her accessories and make them in different hands. So there. There. So I put that that arrow in that hand instead where I have it in this hand on the first version. All right, so there. And then she has a gun. So she would need to have a gun, obviously, right? It looks like the gun is different. No, it's the same gun. It's painted in a different deco, and there's a light kind of thing that you can shine through there. I'm wondering if it's just some deco, some red deco that looks like you could put the arrow in there maybe. I'm wondering if that arrow will go in there. I'm going to take this arrow out. I'm going to take this off the end. I want to see if that'll go in there. Yeah, it goes in her gun. It's an arrow dart gun. Um, so that's different. And I don't know. I guess the previous one had it. I just never realized it. So that's kind of cool. I think I'm gonna change this up a little bit. See, that's the fun thing about these. You discover new things as you go along, and you have fun, and you enjoy different parts of this. So then I'm gonna put this one on here, like that, and she's got a dart gun on there. There, that looks really cool, I must say. So it is like a grappling thing because she has the grappling thing on there, and then she can shoot that up on a wall, so she can like rappel or she can climb up over a wall or whatever. That looks really cool there, like that. I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna put her on her stand. See if I can get her into her stand. There's one, two, and voila. We have Lady Jaye version 1, Lady Jaye version 2. There's a lot of differences on each version, so that's good. I like the fact that they mixed it up and they gave us some alternate stuff with her. Um, I think that's better than trying to. They used obviously the mold of the body a lot, but there's a lot of differences with the accessories and the paint and the apps and stuff like that. The previous Lady Jaye also has a secondary head. She just has hair. So now you have three different head options. You have regular hair, you got the head with the blue, the head with the black hats, ball caps, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of characters that have ball caps that are going to be coming down the pike soon, with like Crazy Legs and Hardball and other people that we haven't gotten yet, which I look forward to. I like the hats. They're cool. So there you go, Lady Jaye Classified and Lady Jaye Vintage Package, for the first time. And so we won't get another Lady Jaye like I think it was Bobby World that said the HasLab one, or maybe it was Cressy O'Crow that talked about the HasLab one. But so there you are. This is going to be a quick video. So some of these videos will be quicker than others because we just don't have as much to talk about with the characters. So thank you guys for chiming in the video again in the chat. And we will be moving on to one of the OG-13 next, classified number 46. Hopefully that gives you an idea. Hey, Steven Chaser. Hey, how are you doing, Steven? Thank you for joining me in the chat. Steven is a very good friend of mine. He's a Central Florida Joe collector, and I created a villain to go against Hardball because I thought Hardball needed an adversary. So I created a character called Foulball, which is a funny name, but I thought it was fun. But we definitely need Hardball, and I think we have everything to make a Hardball figure, Steven, right? We have like the jersey body buck that Bazooka had. We have the hat. We have, fatigues. I think a Hardball is very easy to do. I don't think that's a difficult figure to make. You could probably customize that figure yourself, kit bashing it using a Bazooka. Good buddy, just bored at work and saw you live. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You should join me sometime and come and talk with me about some of this stuff. I would love to have you. Thanks for talking in the chat. Good morning, Sean Jones. Thank you for joining us. So that's the fun thing about classified. As you go along and you start getting more figures and more bucks and more accessories and more equipment, you can kind of predict what is going to happen next. Like, I would have thought we would have got a hardball a lot sooner. The fact that they're I think they're up to about 11 characters from 82 to 90, 82 to 87 left. They need to start mixing and matching some of these years because it's going to get to a point where we're going to have all of 82, all of 83, all of 84, all of 85, all of 86, and stuff like that. And so I think they should have been mixing and matching some of. I know they're doing it with the Cobras, but the Joes are very much slower. How they're releasing the Joes, I don't know. Uh, yeah, Lady J vintage. Yeah, they made a lot of these vintage packaged first wave Baroness and Lady J. I think it was because they wanted people to get Baroness, and Lady J just happened to be in that wave. So she's a peg warmer because she's very similar to the classified, and she was very really closely released after the classified version. So I think it was just a matter of when she was released, and she was in that wave. So I don't necessarily blame Lady J for that, but I believe I would blame Hasbro a little bit for that. And I guess they wanted a good guy and a bad guy. So I don't think they would have released Baroness and the next figure together. It wouldn't have worked out. So they wanted a good guy and a bad guy, a good guy and a bad guy. It makes sense. So she just got the luck of the draw for this release. But I think mostly people wanted that Baroness because they did not get the Baroness with the coil cycle. Um, Steven says, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the 93, 94 characters as well as some Shy, Savage, and Sigma stuff. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff in Sigma. Cobra did some excellent out of the box stuff. There's some new characters that were introduced in that and different versions of characters. So I think you're right. Savage and some of that Sigma 6 would be excellent. And you know how much I love Sigma 6 at the moment. I'm trying to get all my Sigma 6s right now. I did not get that initially when it was released. I've been getting it after the fact. And I've done very well. I've gotten about 60 or so, 60 and change now. I think there was only maybe about 100, right, Stephen? I'm not sure. Down to like some of the rare ones that are expensive to get with animals and the later series. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to get some of that other stuff. We're at a point now where we're so close to getting from 82 to 90 to 87 that I think they have to start doing people like Muskrat, Hardball, Ripcord, Crazy like Psych Out, some of these characters that we haven't gotten yet. And there's some other characters we've got name onlys for that's taken quite a long time to get to, like Lifeline, Hit and Run, Iceberg, and the last of the Rawhides, Big Lob, which I never thought we were going to get a Big Lob in Classified, but since they started releasing all these movie characters, I thought, okay, there's a possibility we could get a Big Lob, and we are. So the fact that they're doing all those movie characters, I'm guessing they are running out of figures to make and they're trying to mix and match. That's why we're getting Arctic. That's why we're getting a lot of variations in water. That's why we're getting like desert. There wasn't desert in vintage other than the clutch and the grunt. There was no desert figures to my knowledge, right? Stephen, you can correct me if I'm mistaken in that. And then Arctic. There was no Arctic other than the characters that were Arctic characters, like Snowjob, Iceberg, Blizzard, Frostbite, all those. They were Arctic, but they didn't turn like Duke and Scarlet and Flint and Lady J into Arctic. So now they're doing that. I think they're trying to spread this stuff out because they're getting too close to finishing these years off. I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the. Oh, you already said that. Sorry. Oh, Dusty. Yeah, Dusty in Arctic. Yeah. Well, Dusty was a desert character specifically, right? But he wasn't like a character like a Tiger Force where they turned him into a desert character. They did that with Clutch and Grunt, right? Um, let me be clear on that. I guess there was a kind of a deserty Duke, a Desert Storm Duke in the 90s. So maybe we'll get that desert. But they didn't do specific things like they did with Snake Eyes, where they came out with that desert Snake Eyes. Um, and they didn't do Arctic like they did with Lady J and Flint. So that's where Hasbro's starting to spread this stuff out because they're running out of characters to do. And I think it'd be kind of cool because if you really look at what they've done with Black Series, they've done every variation of Stormtrooper you could possibly imagine. And they're now going and redoing characters that had secondary costumes. Like they've done almost every Luke you can imagine, but they're going back and they're starting to do Shadows of the Empire, Luke and Leia and that, but there's other characters that they can do, characters from Andor, characters from the Acolyte, characters from the Skeleton Crew in different costumes and stuff. So GI Joe is no different than that. We need to get these different environments because yeah, these characters would be in these environments and they would be fighting Cobra. They were in the movie obviously, and they were in Arctic battles several different times. The Mass Device, the Weather Dominator, and so on and so forth, and different environments for the Pyramid of Darkness. Arise, Serpentor, Arise. So there's different characters and different environments. And so Hasbro's now starting to get into these different environments. And I think they need to because we're getting too close to finishing off a lot of these years. Like I said, 11 figures to finish off 82 to 87. That's not a lot. And most of those are vehicle drivers because they're not going to be doing all those vehicles. Let's be clear on that. We're not going to get Keelhaul. We may get Cutter, maybe. Ace, that's another maybe. Cutter and Ace are both maybes. But Keelhaul, we're not going to get. And there's Toll Booth, maybe Toll Booth we might get as well. Personally, for me, I'd have preferred another snow character rather than the Flint and Lady J in snow gear. We have Blizzard, Snowstorm, Whiteout, Cold Front, Wind Chill, Ice Storm, etc., etc. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%, Stephen. I think they were forced to make that reveal on Iceberg. I don't think they intended to make that reveal. I think we forced them to do that because we were getting a little upset over the fact that it was, or let's see, the perception was there wasn't a lot of Arctic. But if you really look at the classified line up till the classified Snowcat and Frostbite, Lady J, and Flint were revealed, there actually was quite a lot of Arctic already released. If you really think about it, we have Arctic Storm Shadow, we have Snow Job, we have Snow Serpent version 1, Snow Serpent vintage package, we have Arctic Bats, we have what other Arctic was up prior to that? The Snake Eyes with the polar bear. Crusher Crow. They didn't want to back lock the mainline characters behind the Hasbro paywall. That's why we got repaints. That is exactly correct, Crusher Crow. And a lot of those characters, Stephen, you and I may know who they are, but a lot of the wider fan base, I don't know if they know some of those variations. Yes, Blizzard's a major character, right? Iceberg's a major character, but a lot of the other ones are very obscure characters that were released in the 90s and were variants in the late 90s with the A Real American Hero line of repaints, right? Yeah. Um, yes, but getting one in there that's very minor wouldn't have hurt. They made three versions of a snowstorm, two of wind chill. Yeah, you're right. I was much. I was expecting them to do the Tiger Force Blizzard because the precedent had been set for that type of a thing already. So that's what I was expecting, a Tiger Force Blizzard, because we got Glenda, uh, Glenda, and then we got the repaint of the Hiss tactician in the color study, and then the Rattler we got the Baroness repaint. So I was expecting a repaint. I didn't expect it was going to be Flint and Lady Jaye. I thought it was going to be Blizzard, and maybe we could have got a Lady Jaye or something like that to give us a hint that they were going to do Arctic variations down the line, like a to try and test that out. But yeah, I didn't expect we were going to get Lady Jaye and Flint both. So yeah, that was a little surprising, and I agree with you. We could have got some of those alternative ones, but that just gives us plenty of snow characters to build on this theme, the Snowcat theme playset. I think down the line, because we're gonna need more because they've got a lot of stuff coming out in the next year and a half. They are working on 2027, and looking at the line plan for 26. Wow, we got a lot coming. They could have done what they did with Crazy Legs, but Night Force in the HasLab and regular release in the OG colors. Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why we haven't gotten Crazy Legs and Ripcord yet, because they said they've got that internal rule. They have to wait 3 years. Anything that came with a HasLab. So now I know why we haven't got my one of my all-time favorite characters, Ripcord, yet. Uh, it is what it is, and we will hopefully get them still. Oh yeah, definitely, Stephen, definitely. But that just gives us more excitement down the line when they do get revealed. And like I was explaining a little while ago, there's parts and pieces for hardball. I know we could easily get a hardball. There's no doubt about that. That's a figure that's a no-brainer with all the parts and stuff that they've already got out there. Um, some of those other characters, maybe the repaint of um, Frostbite. We're not going to get him for a while because we just got Frostbite, and now we have to wait 3 years to get Wind Chill or whatever that repaint character is. Maybe we can get a vintage Snow Job. Maybe we can get Blizzard and then Tiger Force Blizzard. And some of those other ones, DJ, Arctic DJ, because there was an Arctic 3-pack that had a bunch of characters in the 90s. So I don't know if they would do the Arctic 3-pack first and then go back and do DJ. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of opportunities here. I just think they're pushing the vintage um, 82 to 97 too quickly. We're getting too many of that, too many of those characters, and some of those vehicle drivers I don't think we're going to get. I think we may get the Moray driver, possibly Cutter, possibly Ace, possibly um, um, Toll Booth. So those are four more characters for 82 to 97, but we're definitely not getting Keel Hall, and there's probably some other ones. Maybe we'll get the desert repaint of Clutch, maybe the desert repaint of Grunt to go along with the desert version of Snake Eyes, because we're going to get the khaki Vamp Mark II. So maybe Clutch version 2 will be with that. So that closes the gap. And then the vintage, we've already got Short Fuse and Steeler, so there's not that many of those left. Is what? We got Hawk version 1 as well. So we only got um, Zap, Flash, and Crosshair Crow, I am pretty sure there will be another wave of mass device sets in that there will be a couple of more Winter Joes and Cobras. You think they're going to do more winter characters during the mass device? The mass device set, I do believe we're going to get more characters, but I think if Hasbro's smart, they would do characters that were never released, like Sparks. Do characters like uh, General Flag. Then maybe we might be able to get in the legacy military characters in their dress costumes. If they do a General Flag, there's repaint of all those servicemen in their dress uniforms. So I do believe those possibly could be two, and then maybe a couple of divers, because I believe there was a Destro diver. There might have been a Baroness diver. Um, Cool Breeze and Mangler would be cool, Stephen Chaser. Yeah, you're right. Any of those characters, Mangler, I don't think we've ever gotten a figure of Mangler, have we? Correct me if I'm wrong there. But characters from the mass device, I'm trying to think of. Scarlet would have been in an Arctic costume, I think. Duke might have been in an Arctic costume. So those are pretty much repaints of Flint and Lady Jaye with different heads, right? So mass device characters, definitely. Which versions? What characters? Um, that's the question. I do agree with you. We are going to get more mass device characters. Um, nope, neither of those two have been produced. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Stephen. The polar bear set was 150. Makes a convincing argument for the hermit and dog sled set. Do you think they're gonna do that? Because Super 7 did that, and it sold okay. But do you think they're gonna make that? I would think if they're gonna do that, they would put Quinn, but Quinn wasn't in Mass Device. He was in the comics though, and he did have the sled with some dogs in the comics in that first issue 2, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Steven, you can correct me again if I'm mistaken on that, but I believe he had a sled with some dogs in that. So that's who I think they would do that with, and maybe down the road we would get the hermit. I just don't see them doing the hermit. It doesn't seem like Classified is doing weird characters like that. That's why we're not going to get the Viper or the Wiper, or whichever you want to call it. We're not going to get those type of characters. If it's a character that's going to be released, it's going to be a military version of a character. So that's why we got the divers. That's why we're getting Legacy. We're getting 60th. We're not getting like characters like uh, um, Hector Ramirez. We're not getting Honda Lou. We're not getting Satin and her band. That's a Super 7 line. They're doing that stuff. Um, I think they will do it, but the toboggan would have to be retooled for a later use. Army uses them. Uh, the Huskies loaded the timber with new head. Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on the timber situation. He'll definitely be reused. And if they do the toboggan, maybe they would have to do a reuse of it later, because all the vehicles that they've released thus far, we've only gotten three motorcycles. We got two ferrets, two trouble bubbles, right? We got the MMS twice. The coil cycle is the one we did not get a second of. And I think you could do a second coil cycle. There is a way to do that and have it with a character that would make sense. Do it with like old Snake and like Transformers and have them come with the coil cycle for the future. uh, I think those characters could be realized and reaction plus figures like they did with Fatal Fluffy and the Ramar. definitely, Stephen. That's exactly what I was thinking. They hit a lot of the heavy hitters in the first year of Reaction Plus, but we know we're going to be getting more stuff down the line, and they're going to have to do stuff that people want. And all those characters are ones that people want. They've wanted for O-Ring for years. So there you go. I agree. Bobby World. I'm planning on using Old Man Hawkeye as the blind hermit that rescues Snake Eyes. Oh yeah, that's a good one. And see, that's the thing when it comes to collecting. If you're collecting another line and you see something that works for GI Joe, hey, more power to you. Your play pattern is your play pattern. I'm not going to tell you how to play, and I'm not going to tell you how to collect, how to repaint, and how to customize. That's all you guys. And I think it's phenomenal that you guys can do all that. That's not me. I'm not into all that. I can't do it. Steven knows I can barely keep my weapons straight, right? um, if the legacy line does more figures, I want a combat reporter and a uh, translator set. That's how you end up with a Hector Ramirez. Well, yeah, I agree with you, Chris Crow. That sort of stuff. I think the legacy line is a line that is like so wide open. There's so much stuff we can get to help do reuse. I want an astronaut. I want a legacy astronaut because you know what we're going to get if we get the legacy astronaut. We're going to get all the G.I. Joe astronauts because of that repaint. Um, yeah, yep. Yes, Stephen. Yep. Krusty. So that's, I agree. I think utilizing that legacy line the way that they're doing, because there's rumors that Law and Order's Buck is the police officer Buck, right? The Snow Job was the fireman's Buck. So that's the way to go with this line. In order to make it affordable, you've got to utilize that legacy line. So not only they're repainting stuff for the vintage package line, they're reusing legacy figures and trying to repurpose them. That's how they're going to get their money's worth out of this line. And there's so much stuff to do in that legacy line. Oh my God. The fact that we have a we have GI Joe versions of like blowtorch. We have uh, Joe versions of barbecue. Joe versions of medics. Joe versions of paratroops. All these things, but the original vintage or original military versions are going to be different because they're going to be more grounded in realistic realism and modern day technology too. So I think that's going to be some interesting stuff. Uh, Yeah, I think that you're correct about that, Crustio. The fringe characters that Steven was talking about. That we It's going to be hard to get some of that stuff unless we get some reuse out of it, and that's why they really hit hard on Tiger Force in the second year and Python Patrol in the second year, is because they started doing that reuse heavily, and then we got the vintage package, which is vintage reuse as well, and then they started reusing vehicles. Um, so that's why this line has been successful. And early on, yeah, it was a lot of redeco and repaints for a while, and people were upset, and they kind of were more creative as they went along, kind of creating new characters, like they did with the Ghost Viper and Grim Viper and Parthvama and Viper, I think her name was, and different things like that. They were more creative with the reuse of the parts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But there's a lot of stuff coming. I hope you guys are keeping your budgets under control. Um, I'm trying to get everything. I still get 2 of each thing. And I know it's difficult. Early on, I was getting 3 and 4 of each thing. So now I'm selling off all those and I'm just going to keep it to 2 of each thing so I can open one up for this video series and then keep one mint sealed. So that's where we're going to go with that. But I really appreciate all you guys in the chat and this back and forth with you guys. It's really cool. Uh, I look forward to our next video. Like I said, it's going to be an OG-13 character, and you can pretty much figure out who that's going to be. Tariffs will change a lot of collecting habits. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Tariffs are going to be the number one situation that's going to dictate how we are collecting in the future because things are going to be more costly. And obviously, this is not a necessity. Putting a roof over your head, maintaining that, putting food on your table, putting gas in your vehicle, making sure your health is good. Those are all things you have to do, the necessities. Collecting GI Joe, as much as I would love it to be a necessity, it's not. It's a collectible type niche. Yeah, it helps us with our mental faculties to have that ability to kind of escape, that escapism. We all need it for our psychological welfare from our jobs and our lives. We need that. So it is a necessity in that way, but it's expensive. You have to pick and choose. I collect a lot of different things, so I'm starting to be very particular about what I'm getting and picking and choosing and reducing and stuff. But I will always get all GI Joe stuff as much as I could possibly continue with this, as far as I can continue with it. So I know all my friends are in the same boat, and I see that, I hear that a lot on all the forums and all the other channels, people talking about the same situations. So I know getting the Snowcat was a difficult situation for a lot of people. It did make it over the mark, and we got all the stretch goals, which I'm very thankful for, and I'm thankful that everybody was able to get it. The secondary market's going to be hard to get that, so I hope you were able to get it. And you were able to budget and get that. So, but again, thank you everybody in the chat. I will talk to you in the next one, and this is a GI Joe one, so we're going to say, Yo, Joe.